You don't lack discipline. You've probably told yourself that 100 times. I just need to be more disciplined. I need to lock in. From tomorrow, I'll be different. But tomorrow comes, and somehow, nothing changes. You start strong for a day, maybe two, then it fades, and now you're back to thinking, what's wrong with me? But what if I told you, discipline was never the problem? This happened to me too. I used to think my problem was discipline. Like, I genuinely believed if I could just lock in, everything would change. So I'd plan my day perfectly, study, no phone, no distractions. And for a few hours, I'd actually follow it. But then I'd check my phone once, just once. And somehow that turned into 30 minutes, then an hour. And before I knew it, the whole day was gone. And I'd just sit there thinking, why can't I stay consistent? Why does it feel so easy for other people, but so hard for me? That cycle kept repeating, and every time it happened, I blamed myself more. Most people are trying to force consistency, using willpower. But willpower is unreliable. It depends on your mood, your energy, your environment. And that's exactly why you keep falling off. In this video, I'm going to show you something different. Not discipline, not motivation, but a system that makes consistency feel almost automatic. Let's be honest. You don't struggle because you're lazy. You struggle because everything around you is working against you. Think about it. You sit down to study. Your phone is right there. Notifications, messages, reels. Your brain instantly chooses the easier option. Not because you're weak, but because your environment makes distraction easier than focus. That's the real problem. Friction. The invisible resistance between you and the thing you're trying to do. High friction equals you avoid it. Low friction equals you do it naturally. But nobody teaches you this. They just say, be disciplined. Here's the truth most people don't realize. Discipline works, but only for a short time. It's like holding your breath. You can do it, but eventually, you give in. That's why you can have a super productive day, then completely crash the next day. Because discipline depends on effort, and effort runs out. So instead of asking, how do I become more disciplined, you should be asking, how do I make this easier to do? That question changes everything. Stop trying to force yourself. Pause for a second, because that approach is exactly what's been draining you. Every time you say, I just need to try harder, you're adding more pressure, more resistance, and eventually, you burn out. So instead, start designing your system, not your motivation, not your discipline, your system. Because people who are consistent, they're not stronger than you. They're not more disciplined than you. They don't have some special mindset you don't have. They just made things easier for themselves. They removed the resistance. They stopped relying on willpower and started relying on structure. And once you see that, everything changes. Because now it's not about forcing yourself anymore. It's about setting things up so you don't have to. Step 1. Remove friction. Let's start here. If something feels hard to start, you won't do it. Simple. So your first job is not to be more disciplined, it's to make it easier to begin. Not easier to finish, just easier to start. Because starting is where most people lose. I also experienced this when I was trying to study consistently. I used to tell myself I'd sit down for like 3 or 4 hours. But the truth is, I couldn't even get started. I'd sit there, open my laptop, then somehow end up doing something else. And it felt like I was just avoiding it for no reason. Then I changed one small thing. Instead of telling myself to study, I just told myself, sit down and write one thing. That's it. No pressure, no big plan. And it sounds small, but that one change made it easier to start. And once I started, I didn't need discipline anymore. I just kept going. Now apply this to yourself. If you want to study, don't say, I'll study for 3 hours. That's too heavy. Your brain will resist it. Instead, open your notebook. Sit down. Write one sentence. That's it. Because once you start, momentum takes over. Another example. If your phone distracts you, don't rely on discipline to ignore it. That's a losing game. Instead, move it out of reach. Put it in another room, or use app blockers. You're not weak for needing this. You're smart for removing friction. Even your environment matters. Messy desk equals mental resistance. Clean space equals easier focus. Small things, but they make a big difference. So ask yourself this: what is making this harder than it needs to be? And remove it.
Step 2.
Add friction to distractions.
This is where it gets interesting.
You don't just remove friction from good habits, you add friction to bad ones. Make distractions harder to access. Right now, scrolling is too easy. One tap and you're gone for 2 hours. So change that. Log out of social media. Delete the app temporarily. Use screen time limits. Turn off notifications. Now every time you try to open it, there's resistance. That small resistance is enough to break the automatic habit, because most of your distractions aren't intentional, they're automatic. You didn't decide to scroll, it just happened. So we break the loop, not with discipline, but with friction.
Step 3.
Build a simple system. Now this is where everything comes together. You don't need a complicated routine, you don't need a perfect schedule. You need something you can repeat, even on your worst day. A system should feel like, I can do this no matter what. So instead of, I'll study 5 chapters today, try this. Sit down at the same time daily. Study for just 25 minutes. Take a break. Repeat if you feel like it. Simple, repeatable, realistic. Because consistency doesn't come from intensity, it comes from repeatability. And here's the key. Your system should survive your bad days. If your plan only works when you feel motivated, it's not a system. Step 4. Identity shift. This is deeper. Right now, you might see yourself as someone who struggles with discipline. And that identity is holding you back. Because every time you fail, it reinforces it. But systems change identity. When you show up daily, even in small ways, you start to become someone who follows through. Not because you forced it, but because your system made it easier. So stop asking, how do I become more disciplined? Start asking, how do I make this easier to do? Because the goal isn't to force yourself, it's to build a system that carries you, even when you don't feel like it. Try this tonight. Pick one thing you've been avoiding and remove just one friction point. That's it. Don't overthink it. Just make it easier, and then show up. We're not chasing motivation anymore. We're building systems. Let's level up.